Friends, if I told you that a single verse has the power to change the direction of your life, would you believe it? One sentence, one eternal truth, so strong that it can reshape your thinking, fuel your faith, and awaken possibilities you never thought possible. That verse is this: I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Let us break down the lessons hidden within this divine declaration. You cannot do all things if you first do not believe it is possible. Faith is the seed that unlocks the promise hidden in the verse. When a person carries doubt in their heart, they automatically shut the door to possibilities that were already waiting for them. This verse does not come as a whisper of chance. It arrives as a declaration of certainty. The moment you speak it with conviction, you begin to reprogram your mind to think in terms of possibility rather than limitation. It is not about repeating words mechanically. It is about embracing them as a living truth that changes the way you see yourself and the world around you. When you repeat this verse, you spark a fire within your imagination. That fire is not just emotional energy, it is the power of belief taking root. Every achievement in history, whether great or small, began with a belief that it could be done. Without belief, even the strongest body and the sharpest mind will crumble under the weight of fear and excuses. But with belief, you develop a confidence that pushes you forward even when the path looks impossible. This confidence is not arrogance. It is alignment with a greater source that says you are capable of far more than you realize. Think for a moment about the times you held back because you thought the task was too big, the challenge too great, or the opportunity meant for someone else. Those were not failures of ability, but failures of belief. The verse sweeps those lies away and replaces them with a statement of power: I can do. That small phrase holds no room for hesitation. It is a command to act, a refusal to bow to fear. The impossible becomes possible the moment you dare to claim it. Belief changes the atmosphere of your life. It colors the way you wake up in the morning, the way you tackle your work, the way you speak to others, and the way you handle obstacles. A person who believes they can do all things walks differently, speaks differently, and approaches every challenge with a mindset of victory. And when people around them see that unshakable confidence, it inspires them to believe as well. Belief, once embraced, spreads like light in a dark room. Of course, belief alone is not enough. It must be paired with action. The verse does not say you can think all things, it says you can do all things. This is where many falter. They believe for a moment, but they do not step forward in faith. True belief demands movement. When you act on the truth of the verse, even in small ways, you strengthen that inner conviction. Each step becomes a testimony that the promise is real. The more you walk in belief, the more impossible tasks begin to bow to your determination. At the heart of all lies the truth that belief is not drawn from your own limited strength, but from a higher power that never fails. You may feel weak, unqualified, or overwhelmed, but belief rooted in divine strength cannot be shaken. This is what makes the verse more than motivation. It makes it transformation. It does not ask you to rely on yourself alone. It reminds you that your belief is fueled by a strength far greater than your own. When that truth settles deep in your heart, there is no barrier too tall, no challenge too heavy, and no dream too distant. Your own muscles may grow weary, your willpower may fade, and your determination may reach a breaking point. No matter how strong a person believes themselves to be, there comes a time when human strength alone is not enough. This is where the verse reveals its deeper promise. It reminds us that the greatest power does not come from within the flesh, but from the source that created it. That higher strength is not temporary, not limited, and not shaken by circumstances. When you connect to it, you tap into a well that never runs dry. Life is filled with seasons of struggle, moments when you feel like the weight on your shoulders is too heavy to carry. Perhaps you have faced rejection, disappointment, or failure that made you want to give up. In those times, relying only on your own ability is like trying to draw water from an empty well. But when you lean on divine strength, you discover a reserve that carries you further than you thought possible. It lifts you in your weakest moments and steadies you when everything around you is unstable. Think about how many people quit not because they lack talent, but because they lack strength to keep going. Willpower can be strong for a time, but it eventually runs out. Divine strength, however, has no expiration date. It renews itself each morning, giving you fresh energy to rise and face the day. This is why so many who seem weak in the eyes of the world end up outlasting the strong, because they are fueled by something greater than human effort. When you draw from this source, falling is not the end. Every setback becomes a setup for growth. You rise again, not because you are unbreakable, but because you are supported by an unbreakable strength. Endurance is born here. The storms that were meant to crush you become the very storms that shape you. Each trial you pass through is proof that the power sustaining you is stronger than any obstacle in your path. Look closely at those who achieve greatness despite impossible odds, and you will often see this hidden strength at work. They face the same difficulties as others, but where others surrender, they endure. Where others stop, they continue. It is not that they feel no pain or no struggle. It is that they draw energy from a source that multiplies their capacity. That strength gives them resilience, and resilience opens the door to victory. At the core of this lesson is a truth that cannot be ignored. No one is meant to rely only on themselves. The strongest body will one day falter, the sharpest mind will sometimes grow tired, and the most determined heart will occasionally stumble. But when you live by the power of a strength greater than your own, you become unstoppable. You can rise after every fall, endure storms that defeat others, and keep moving forward long after ordinary strength would have given out. That is the gift of this verse. It promises that you never have to face life's battles with your strength alone. Notice the words carefully. I can do. Those three words hold a universe of responsibility. They do not point to someone else, nor do they push the task into the vague future. They declare ownership. They place the weight of action directly into your hands. Too often people wait for circumstances to improve, for others to act first, or for the perfect moment to arrive. But this verse leaves no room for waiting. It confronts you with the truth that your progress begins only when you choose to act. There is a kind of freedom in this responsibility when you realize that your future does not depend on someone else's approval, decision, or timing. You stop living as a prisoner of circumstance. You become the driver of your own destiny. Of course, the road will not always be easy, but it will always be yours. The verse shifts your thinking from dependency to accountability, from hesitation to movement. It makes you the author of your own chapter, not a passive character in someone else's story. Excuses are the great thieves of destiny. People say they would have done more if only they had more money, more support, or more opportunities. But I Can Do destroys every excuse. It says that no matter how limited the resources, no matter how small the beginning, action is still possible. You may not be able to do everything at once, but you can do something today. That small act, taken with faith, becomes the seed of something far greater. When responsibility is embraced, it builds strength of character. Each time you take ownership instead of shifting blame, you grow stronger. Each time you rise and say, I can do, you train your mind to believe in action over passivity. Over time, this shapes you into a person of discipline, someone who does not wait to be told, someone who's not hide behind excuses, but someone who steps forward with courage. Responsibility is not a burden, it is the very path to freedom. This mindset also changes the way you handle failure. When you believe that you are responsible for your actions, failure does not crush you, it teaches you. You stop pointing fingers and start asking better questions. What can I learn? How can I improve? What will I do differently next time? Every setback becomes an opportunity for growth because you no longer waste energy blaming others. Instead, you use that energy to get back up and try again. Ultimately, the verse challenges you to live as a creator, not a victim. To say, I can do, is to affirm that your life is not waiting for permission. It is waiting for you. It is a call to action, a refusal to hide behind circumstances or other people. It is an invitation to rise, to move, to take responsibility for your future with faith and determination. And when you embrace that responsibility, you will find that doors open, opportunities appear, and strength flows in ways you never expected. To do all things, you must first see what is possible. The verse opens the door, but the courage to walk through it comes from vision. Without vision, even the strongest belief has nowhere to go. Vision gives shape to your faith. It paints the picture of what you are moving toward. If you cannot see yourself rising higher, achieving more, or fulfilling a greater purpose, then the power within the verse remains dormant. Vision awakens possibility by placing an image of success before your mind's eye. Vision is the blueprint of destiny. Every great achievement begins first in the imagination, long before it becomes visible in the physical world. The homes we live in, the bridges we cross, the inventions we use daily, all were once only visions in someone's mind. The same is true of your life. You must dare to picture yourself breaking free of limitations, living out your calling, and becoming all you were created to be. The clearer your vision, the stronger your motivation to keep moving forward. When vision is absent, people wander without direction. They may work hard, but their effort feels scattered and unfocused because they lack a clear target. But when vision is present, every step has meaning. You can endure setbacks without losing hope because your eyes remain fixed on where you are going. Vision acts like a compass. It keeps you aligned with your purpose even when distractions and challenges surround you. Without it, you are easily swayed by fear, doubt, and the opinion is not enough to dream small. The verse says, I can do all things, not some things, not only safe things. Vision must stretch you beyond your current circumstances. If your vision does not challenge you, it will not change you. Dare to dream big enough that you must lean on divine strength to see it through. A vision that is too small relies only on human effort, but a vision that is truly great demands a partnership with the one who empowers you. Once vision takes root in your heart, it influences everything you do. It shapes your decisions, your habits, and even the company you keep. You begin to align your life with the picture you hold in your mind. Slowly but surely, the invisible becomes visible. The vision that once seemed distant begins to unfold step by step, and what was once only a thought becomes your new reality. At its core, vision is faith in action. It is the ability to see beyond the present moment into a future that is yet to come. The verse invites you not only to believe, but also to imagine boldly. When you see yourself accomplishing great things, you prepare the way for those things to manifest. Vision fuels persistence, strengthens courage, and anchors purpose. Without vision, the verse remains a promise. With vision, it becomes a lived reality. Life will test you in ways you do not expect. Obstacles will rise at the very moment you feel ready to move forward, and challenges will appear just when your confidence begins to grow. This is not a signal to stop, nor is it proof that you are unworthy of progress. It is the natural rhythm of growth. The verse becomes your shield in these moments, reminding you that every obstacle is not the end, but an opportunity to develop the strength needed for the next stage of your journey. Trials are often misunderstood as punishments, but they are more accurately training grounds. A seed must push through the hard soil before it can see the light of day. In the same way, you must push through resistance to discover your true strength. Without resistance, muscles do not grow. Without trials, character does not mature. Each difficulty you face is shaping you, building resilience, and preparing you for the greater opportunities ahead. When persistence is fueled by faith, setbacks are no longer viewed as defeats, but as detours. The verse does not say you will never struggle. It promises that through divine strength you can endure and overcome. That endurance transforms your failures into lessons and your delays into preparation. What looks like a barrier in front of you may simply be a test to prove how deeply you believe in the power of, I can do all things. Persistence also sharpens your focus. When you keep pressing forward despite hardship, your priorities become clearer. You no longer waste energy on what is meaningless, because trials have a way of showing you what truly matters. Every time you refuse to quit, you strip away distractions and build a stronger sense of purpose. Over time, you realize that the obstacle itself was part of the path, not separate from it. The beauty of persistence is that it multiplies over time. The more often you endure, the easier it becomes to endure again. Every challenge you overcome leaves a trace of strength behind, making you more prepared for the next one. You begin to face difficulties not with dread, but with quiet confidence, because you know you have survived storms before and you will survive again. That mindset transforms your life. You stop fearing the test and instead welcome it as proof of your growing power. At the heart of persistence lies the verse itself. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me is not a call to a single victory, but to a lifetime of endurance. It is a reminder that the journey is not measured by how quickly you arrive, but by how faithfully you continue. When life tests you, persistence rooted in divine strength ensures that you rise again and again until you reach the fullness of your calling. You are not meant to drift aimlessly through life, chasing whatever comes your way without direction. The verse speaks of all things, but it is not a blank invitation to scatter your energy on shallow pursuits. It points instead to a higher alignment, a calling uniquely written into your life. Without purpose, even success feels empty. With purpose, every action, no matter how small, carries meaning. Purpose is the thread that weaves your days together into a tapestry of significance. Finding that purpose begins with reflection. It requires asking yourself not only what you want, but why you were created. The verse is a reminder that you were designed with intention, not by accident. There is something only you can contribute to the world, something that makes your presence necessary. When you discover that calling, the words, I can do all things, become personal because you are no longer trying to do everything. You are focused on the things that truly matter. When you live with purpose, decisions become clearer. Opportunities that once seemed distracting no longer appeal to you because they do not fit your path. Purpose acts like a compass, guiding your choices and protecting you from wasting energy on meaningless pursuits. It does not mean the road will be easy, but it does mean the road will be right. Even hardships gain value when they are part of a larger mission. Purpose also sustains you when motivation runs low. There will be days when you feel tired, when progress seems slow, and when quitting looks tempting. But if your life is anchored in purpose, you can endure. You know that what you are working toward is bigger than temporary discomfort. You are not just moving for yourself. You are moving for the fulfillment of the design placed inside you. That knowledge gives you resilience. Living with purpose also expands your influence. People are drawn to those who live with clarity and conviction. Your commitment to your calling becomes a testimony that inspires others to find their own. Purpose creates ripples far beyond what you can see, touching lives you may never meet. It turns your journey into a legacy, proving that the power of one focused life can change the world around it. At the deepest level, purpose transforms this verse into an unshakable compass. You are no longer wandering without direction. You are moving forward with certainty. Each day becomes part of a greater story, and every step you take is fueled by a sense of destiny. I can do all things is no longer an abstract promise. It is the daily reality of a life aligned with divine intention. With purpose guiding you, the verse becomes not just words you recite, but truth you embody. Each time you apply this verse, something inside you expands. What felt impossible yesterday begins to feel natural today. Growth is not always dramatic, often it is subtle, showing up in the way you respond differently to challenges that once overwhelmed you. By leaning on the truth of this promise, you begin to stretch beyond your old limits. Every test becomes an opportunity to uncover strength you didn't know was there, and every step forward reveals new layers of your potential. Growth is a process of uncovering. Within every person lies more ability than they realize, but most never access it because they stop too soon. When you act on this verse, you push yourself into new territory. That pressure awakens hidden abilities. You realize you are capable of more wisdom, more endurance, more creativity, and more discipline than you imagined. Each victory, no matter how small, builds upon the last until what was once extraordinary becomes ordinary. This process also deepens resilience. Challenges no longer knock you down as easily as they once did, because each one leaves behind a trace of strength. Where you once saw failure as final, now you see it as feedback. Where you once retreated at the first sign of difficulty, now you hold your ground with steady faith. The verse gives you the courage to face life head on, and with each experience, you develop a toughness that nothing can shake. Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens when you stretch, when you step into places that feel unfamiliar and even uncomfortable. The verse encourages you to take those steps because you know you are not relying on yourself alone. By doing so, you open doors that lead to progress. You begin to realize that the very struggles you once avoided are the ones that shape you into who you are meant to become. As you grow, your definition of what is possible changes. The goals that once felt out of reach become your new starting point. You begin to dream bigger, to set higher standards, and to expect more from yourself. Growth transforms your perspective, and with each stage, you gain a confidence rooted not in arrogance, but in the knowledge that you are constantly being strengthened. This becomes a cycle of progress, one achievement preparing the way for the next. Ultimately, growth through this verse is about transformation. It is not just about achieving more, but about becoming more. Each application of this truth reshapes your character, sharpens your vision, and strengthens your spirit. Over time, the gap between who you were and who you are meant to be narrows until you are living as the fullest version of yourself. The verse becomes not only a promise of strength, but a pathway to continuous evolution. True strength does not inflate the ego, it humbles the spirit. When you achieve something remarkable, it is tempting to think it was by your effort alone, but the verse reminds you that your victories are not the product of willpower only, they are gifts sustained by a higher power. Gratitude keeps you grounded. It takes the spotlight off pride and directs it toward the source of your strength. Instead of boasting, you find yourself giving thanks, knowing you are carried by more than your own hands. Each breakthrough, no matter how small, becomes a reason to pause and acknowledge that you did not walk the path alone. Gratitude shifts your perspective from entitlement to appreciation. Instead of constantly focusing on what is missing, you begin to see how much has already been provided. This change in outlook brings peace because you stop chasing validation and start celebrating progress. Gratitude transforms success from something heavy to something joyful. Gratitude also strengthens relationships. When you recognize that your achievements are not yours alone, you begin to honor those who supported you along the way. You thank the mentors, the friends, the family, and even the strangers who played a role in your journey. More importantly, you thank the one who gave you the ability, the breath, and the opportunity to move forward. This practice of thanksgiving creates humility, which draws people closer to you rather than pushing them away. A grateful heart changes the way you handle setbacks as well. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, you can still find reasons to give thanks. Perhaps the failure taught you a lesson, strengthened your character, or redirected you toward something better. Gratitude does not erase pain, but it gives pain purpose. Even in difficulty, you can say, I am thankful for the strength that carried me through, and that mindset prevents discouragement from taking root. Living with gratitude also multiplies blessings. The more you give thanks, the more aware you become of the opportunities around you. Gratitude sharpens your vision, helping you see doors you might otherwise overlook. It also keeps you from wasting time comparing yourself to others because you are too busy being thankful for what you already have. This shift in focus not only brings contentment but also attracts new opportunities, since people are drawn to those who radiate appreciation. Ultimately, gratitude keeps you aligned with the true meaning of the verse. It reminds you that strength, victories, and breakthroughs are not reasons for arrogance, but reasons for humility. Each success becomes a reminder to bow your head in thanks rather than lift your chin in pride. Gratitude turns every accomplishment into an act of worship and every step of progress into a testimony of divine partnership. With a grateful heart, you rise higher without losing sight of where your strength comes from. When this verse truly settles in your heart, something remarkable happens. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance. No longer do you live at the mercy of what others decide, what the economy dictates, or what the environment around you imposes. Instead, you begin to understand that you carry within you the ability to rise above any situation. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond, and in that response lies your mastery. Mastery is not about avoiding challenges, it is about using them as stepping stones. When setbacks come, you no longer panic or complain. You see them as raw material waiting to be shaped into progress. Every obstacle becomes a test of faith, and with the verse echoing in your spirit, you approach those tests with calm determination. Instead of asking, why me? You start asking, how can this strengthen me? That shift in perspective turns difficulties into opportunities for growth. Over time, this mindset shapes your actions. You stop drifting without direction and begin to live deliberately. Your words carry weight, your choices reflect intention, and your habits align with the future you are building. Mastery is not achieved overnight, it is developed daily through discipline. Each moment you choose faith over fear, action over excuses, and perseverance over quitting, you are laying bricks on the foundation of a life that cannot be shaken. This verse also unites your inner life, your mind, your faith, and your actions. Many people struggle because these three are in conflict. They believe one thing, think another, and act in a completely different way. But when the truth of I can do all things through Christ governs you, these parts of yourself move in harmony. Your thoughts fuel your faith directs your actions, and your actions reinforce your thoughts. That alignment creates unstoppable momentum. Living with mastery also gives you authority over fear, doubt, and negativity. Instead of being pulled around by every voice of discouragement, you anchor yourself in truth. You refuse to let circumstances dictate your worth or define your limits. The verse becomes your standard, louder than the doubts in your head and stronger than the resistance you face. When people see this kind of steadiness, they recognize a person who is not merely surviving but leading, someone who has chosen to live above circumstance rather than under it. Ultimately, mastery means becoming the architect of your destiny. With the verse as your foundation, you are no longer tossed by chance or confined by limitation. You design your future with intention, building it brick by brick through faith and perseverance. And because your strength is not drawn from yourself alone, but from an unshakable source, nothing can stop you. You become the living proof of the promise unstoppable, unmovable, and unbreakable, with a life that reflects the fullness of what this verse was always meant to awaken. So I ask you, will you merely hear this verse, or will you live it? Speak it daily, not as a ritual, but as a command to your soul. Let it shape your thoughts, fuel your actions, and guide your destiny. For when you truly believe, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, you hold in your hands the most powerful key to a life of victory.